Hello everyone. I recently just watched the new Uncharted movie. And as someone who's never played an Uncharted game, this was an absolute blast. This is going to have spoilers for the entire movie, as I'll be discussing the plot. So, if you don't want the movie to be spoiled for you, then please watch the movie first. I promise you will not regret it. The movie starts off with one of the coolest openings ever, as it cuts to an action scene later in the movie where it shows Tom Holland's Nathan Drake hanging by the leg onto some cargo that is hanging outside the plane. It instantly opens up with an exciting and interesting scene that makes the audience want to see more of the movie to find out what happens. Then it cuts to two kids breaking into a museum and taking a look at the first map of the world. The kids are revealed to be Tom Holland and not Tom Holland. It's Tom Holland's brother. Well, not Tom Holland's brother, but you know what I mean. But they get caught, brought back to the orphanage where Tom Holland's brother is sent to prison. Cutting back to the current day. Tom Holland is working at a bar and is really smooth talking this girl. Like, this is actually smooth as hell. Low-key, I started blushing in the theater, but that's besides the point. Turns out he's a thief and only being smooth so that he can get the girl's bracelet. And he would have gotten away with it too, if not for that meddling Mark Wahlberg, who steals the bracelet back and places a card in Tom Holland's pocket, telling him his address. Like would be expected, he breaks into Mark Wahlberg's house and steals the stolen bracelet back that was stolen from him. I know, a lot of stealing. But is stopped when he sees the first map of the world, and it's revealed that Mark Wahlberg knows Tom Holland's brother, who was looking for the treasure that the map of the world was leading to. Time signs on to help steal the solid gold key from the auction, so that they can steal the clues. Or follow the clues. Man, I'm having a tough time. This is where one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie happens, where Tom Holland is preparing for the heist, and it's just really interesting to see this part that isn't really shown in the movies. And the fact that the list of items he needs is so random, it just makes everything more interesting on what he's going to be doing next. Like, he orders a cat, bubblegum, and some other random BS. Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland meet up and talk over the plan, where it's revealed that the cat was for Mark Wahlberg because he's super lonely and needs happiness in his life. Which, as a fellow cat father, I can relate. They go to the auction house where our main antagonist is revealed, Santiago Moncada, played by Antonio Banderas. This guy is everything I want out of a villain. He's intimidating, he's crafty, and has a personal connection with the plot, as he believes the gold belongs to his family, along with his hired gun, Braddock, who is pretty good secondary antagonist. But I don't think she would really work as a main villain. Hopefully, nothing happens to make her the main villain. That was a bit of foreshadowing for you. The heist begins and Tom fails to shut off the power to make a distraction. So he just jumps off the roof and turns himself into the distraction, which is really cool. Which gives Mark Wahlberg the opportunity to get the key, but tries to leave Tom Holland behind. Thankfully, Tom catches Mark Wahlberg and they continue to their next location. Some Italian place, I don't know, I forgot. Hold on. Barcelona, yep. Here's where we meet our third companion to this ride, Chloe Fraser, played by Sophia Ali. To be honest, her character is really interesting. Like, as soon as they meet up, she steals the keys for herself. This instantly shows that she only cares about herself. And this is reinforced later on in the movie, but trust me, she's really cool. After they chase down Chloe, they take the other key she has, and they go to find the next location, a church. In order to get to the next room, they have to split up, with one of them being on the surface, representing heaven, and the others on the bottom, representing hell. And they have to trust each other in order to reach the room. I love how this scene shows how the world has changed since the clues were made. with one of the rooms that the clues is in being a nightclub and the other one being in a Papa John's. I can't make this up. Chloe and Tom Holland eventually turn the key, and the room they're in starts to fill with water, with Mark Wahlberg having to turn the key on his side to open up the door for them. This is when another really tense scene happens, where Braddock finds Mark and they fight as Chloe and Tom are trapped and slowly drowning. This scene ends with Braddock being thrown through a wall in order to clear a way for the key to be inserted, and Tom saving Chloe from choking on some of that delicious 500-year-old water. Tom and Chloe find some big jars and find a map inside of them, leading to the gold, only missing a couple of pieces in order to find it. This is where the movie really starts to pick up, in my humble opinion. Chloe is revealed to have been working for Moncada the entire time. It's also revealed that Braddock killed Tom Holland's brother, adding some personal stakes in the quest for Tom, and setting him up for revenge later. After this, Moncada kills his father out of nowhere, showing that he's the really evil type of psychopath. But sadly, after Moncada truly feels like a threat, he's immediately killed off by Braddock, who somehow acquires his wealth after he dies? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with this change. I mean, Braddock is still an intimidating character with personal ties to Tom Holland. But trying to be a better villain than Moncada is a really dumb decision that really didn't make much sense to me. But moving on. Chloe realizes that she's mildly screwed when she sees her boss's operation being taken over by the girl that hates her, and bounces, running to the cargo area where Tom and Mark snuck in. After seeing Braddock, Tom does a 1 million IQ play by blowing his cover and asking if Braddock killed his brother. This brings us to the beginning of the movie, where the cargo falls out of the plane and Tom gets knocked out. But this time, showing everybody else in tandem with the footage. Not only giving it new life, but giving context to all the crazy stuff that was happening in the scene before. Tom gets hit by the car that turns out Chloe was driving, and now both of them are plummeting to their death. But they land on a cargo box midair and avoid death by pulling the parachutes on the crate. Tom and Chloe paddle to shore, where they find a very populated beach and rent a hotel for the night. Tom stays up looking at everything that his brother left behind to see if he can find some clues about where the treasure is. And he does, and writes down the coordinates and goes to bed, trusting Chloe not to steal them. So the next morning, Chloe wakes up and steals them, immediately. But as it turns out, that might not be what you get, because Tom Holland is 0% simp and 100% Chad. He put the wrong coordinates like a absolute legend on the table. Then, he sets out to go find the real treasure. So he finds it. Yep, that was pretty fast. In a super cool looking cave that I'm surprised nobody has thought to check out. When he finds 2 pirate ships. Now, just to show what type of man Tom Holland is, instead of, using the ladder next to him to get on the ship, he instead jumps and grabs the cannon on the side and then does a rock climbing maneuver to get up. Mark Wahlberg also shows up, but my memory is hazy on how he found Tom Holland, so just know that he shows up, looks in the barrels below deck, and only sees gunpowder, apparently never hearing about a false bottom before. But Tom do, and there is tons of gold in the ship. But as it turns out, Braddock was following the 2 there, and instead of stealing just the gold, she steals the ships with helicopters, taking Tom and Mark along with them. This is where the coolest scene of all time is shown. No, I don't mean the movie's best scene. I mean the best scene. A scene that had me on the edge of my seat for the entire time I was watching it. The 2 take over one of the ships from mercenary in a ship fight, able to put Pirates of the Caribbean to shame. As they're fighting on ships carried by helicopters in the air. God, what a beautiful phrase. In all honesty, when this movie comes out on disc or whatever streaming service they're going to put it on, I am going to be rewatching this scene over and over and over again, because it's just that cool. Tom and Mark Wahlberg manage to crash both of the ships and get away, but Braddock tries one last time to get Tom. So, Mark Wahlberg has to choose between the money or Tom. This decision would be super obvious if we haven't already seen Tom get betrayed so many times in the pursuit of this treasure. So, it could have gone either way, but Mark makes the right decision and hits Braddock in the head with 50 pounds of gold, and then drops a ship on her. Tom shows off that he still kept a bit of the gold, and then flies off into the sunset. The end. Now, there are a couple of things I left out for the sake of brevity. And, not having an hour-long video, but this movie has so much to offer. It's action-packed, full of mystery, comedy, and it's just fun. I've never played Uncharted, so I can't speak to how well it adapted the source material, but on its own, it's a fun ride. There are some flaws, like I don't think Braddock's that interesting of a villain, and there are like a couple little nitpicks that I would make. So, I would give Uncharted a 9 out of 10. Do I think it's the best movie ever made? Well, if it's just the pirate ship on repeat, then yeah, it would be. But there are a couple of decisions that were a little weird to me, and yeah, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, as it helps out a lot. See you all in the next video. Peace.